Alright. As far as I can tell, she's a 0D in the... Hello YouTubers, Stevie here. Thanks for tuning in. Coming to you from indoors today. Normally I'm at the range doing this talk, and fear not, I'm not going to go on a rant about pending ATF regulation changes. This is simply because I've been kind of wet and soggy over the last few days, and quite frankly it was a bit of a mud fest up there at the range, which you'll see as there will be actual footage from the range in this video. And I probably spent easily as much time picking up my targets off the ground after I knocked them over than I did shooting at them, which, you know, got old real fast. Just spare you the, you know, pain of having to watch all that, you know, me trying to not be pissed, but there'll be some profanity. So, spoiler alert, I'm going to try to bleep them out. That may not work. Anyways, and like I said, this is going to be the third installment on the Mossberg Shockwave. I feel a bit of obligation when it comes to the Shockwave videos that I've been doing. I really only started videoing my time at the range, you know, just as a way of being able to review my technique and keep bad habits from forming, and you know, modify things that didn't seem to be working well, and having a, you know, a different perspective on that. You kind of lose sight of some things when you're actually in the moment. I mean, this really is, for lack of a better word, like a unicorn when it comes to modern firearms that are available for us to purchase, in that it is, in essence, a sawed-off shotgun. I mean, I can only imagine that your old school, you know, mobsters probably had this in mind when they were cutting down their shotguns, and I'm sure the intent was quite nefarious to conceal carry this, which I check with your own states, but here in Oregon, I checked with the actual Sheriff's Department division that issued me my concealed carry permit, and asked them, you know, can I conceal carry this? I was more interested in whether I can actually have this loaded in my vehicle, concealed. And since it is technically a firearm that is kosher in this state, I'm not, you know, like I said, you have to check in your own states to see if that's good. But I mean, in essence, I could single sing this, you know, under a trench coat. That's kind of scary in many ways. But it brings up an interesting question on this one. You know, it's a bit of an enigma in terms of it being, you know, a non-NFA and totally legal for us to buy. It's also quite affordable. I mean, for about the price of most major manufacturers' entry-level 9mm service pistol, you know, you can get one of these, and you know, it's a 6-round, you know, 5 in a mag, 1 in the chamber for a regular, you know, 2 3/4 size shell. Plus, it will cycle, and it does cycle mini shells quite well. So, I mean, that's 9 of the slugs. I know I'm going to hopefully get a chance to try out the number 4 buckshot and see if I can actually get one more round in that. But this brings up an interesting point of purpose of use, quote, nothing fancy. That is also a bit of an enigma when it comes to this weapon. People, everyone's interested in this because it is easy to buy, both for budget and no paperwork. And, you know, it's kind of actually fun to shoot and quite accurate. It's actually, if you spend a little time with this, you can be very effective. But what do you use it for? And, you know, I think kind of the sky's the limit on that when you think about it. For myself, I saw at least 2 distinct possibilities. One was, and the primary reason I bought this was going to be for home defense. It's no secret that a 12-gauge shotgun is considered one of the best home defense weapons you can use. You know, plenty of firepower with not that much over penetration if you use the right shell. Close does count when you're talking about buckshot. So this was, you know, kind of the obvious advantages when you consider, you know, your main advantage in your own home is going to be your knowledge of your own home. Even if you've only been there for a while, chances are you've had to walk around or just chosen to walk around without turning on lights. So you know the place, you know what things should look like in the dark, and so you have an advantage over someone who's breaking in, assuming that they have not cased your home from the inside, Chances are, even if it did, they probably didn't do it with the lights off. You definitely have a distinct advantage there. And so when you consider you could actually, have, a very close to you, low profile weapon available while you're sweeping your home, as opposed to, a full-size shotgun, which would have, a longer barrel and buttstock, and, you could still pull it from the hip, but then you'd have to worry about, knocking over a vase or something with your buttstock, or just, banging it on a door jamb while you're trying to, come onto a target, end up pulling the trigger by accident and shooting your cat or something. So, just a maneuverability factor alone, this has obviously got an advantage, as opposed to saying using this as a trunk weapon, where the traditional, way of actually, extending your weapon out here, for sighting, is probably going to be your normal, fare. And if we're in a home, that, coming around a corner, blind corner, could get grabbed. Like I said, you can knock stuff over you're not intending. So really the big advantage of this is being able to hold it in tight and, not be, trying to keep an eye on where your gun's at while you're trying to keep an eye out for the bad guy. So within that principle, it seemed pretty obvious from the get-go that the best sighting assistance would come from a laser. Being that you could then shoot from the hip, allows you to stay in this sort of position. You've got plenty, mobility, not as much as maybe this, but you can still respond quickly, to changes in your environment. And, as far as light, and it's a green laser, so it's just definitely got some light it produces. And let's just show this video. I did some video at with the lights off in my home, just to kind of show sort of what you would get in terms of lighting your environment from just the green dot alone, this particular one. And ultimately what I found is that while it's not going to, light up a room, if you, once again, taking into consideration your advantage in the situation, having familiarity with your own dwelling, the light is, at least for me, more than adequate. And as you can see from the, it's not going to light up a room or anything, but it's, capable of, certainly lighting the way, so you're not going to trip over something, that your kids left out, or, anything that might actually jam you up, even though you're familiar with your dwelling. Not to say that I'm opposed to putting a light on this. My only concern with that, this is for its intended purpose as a, there's someone in my house, realization after I just woken up. It should be a rapid deployment sort of weapon in that respect. And, the more you have on it, a shell carrier, all your rack attachments, if you want to put those on, are all things that could potentially get caught up, on something as you're trying to pull this. It depends on how obviously you're going to store it and make it ready to deploy. But here again, it's just one more thing, obviously, to have to turn on. I mean, it's bad enough that you're going to either have to defeat the safety or, rack the slide, depending on, how you're storing this. Either way, you've got that, already, necessary to get this ready to work. And then, of course, you have to, turn on your green laser, which, by the way, the placement of that switch, I was really concerned, since these actually designed to hang underneath a barrel of a handheld weapon, pistol probably, though I've seen some revolvers that you could probably do that off of. This is obviously upside down, and so I was wondering, I was concerned whether that, that switch would be convenient. And it is surprisingly convenient. So that worked out very well. But back to the point, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a light on this. The general attitude is it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. I'm just concerned it's, something that might get hung up while you're trying to pull this out of wherever you've got it, or yet another thing that you turn on your light SW laser, because it's, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not a trained operator. I have not, not law enforcement or military. I am just an average Joe trying to prepare myself for a bad guy in my home, and so I have no doubt if that should come to bear, I would not be calm and collect. I would like to think I would be, but I probably wouldn't be. So here again, I'm having to get this weapon readied for use. So that means, in my case, I'd probably be racking the slide, only because I think that has been, I think, appropriately suggested could be a deterrent towards an intruder. They hear you, they might go, oh snap, and this does it just as loud as a full size. So that as effective as that will be, it will be just as effective with this. So the last thing I want to do is have, remember to do that, and then make sure I got my laser on, and then, deploy light. There's some that would say that, light gives away your position, but probably not much more than a laser. Really the objection is just to keep it simple. It's been a minimalist approach I've been adopting throughout my life, and it's been proven quite effective on everything I've endeavored to do it with. So that was basically the last thing I needed to do with this weapon, was to find a laser that would work. And I had gone through 2 others prior to this, and I had first gotten the idea from an article I'd read where a person had put on a Truglo, one of the Truglo pistol green lasers, and I was pretty much set on buying that, but I kept reading quality control reviews on that one, and just $100 plus or minus, depending on where you get it. I just wasn't willing to risk that money, on something that could be indiscriminately failing. It might work great, and then all of a sudden not. Which I guess could be said about this too. But the first laser I got was a cheapo red laser that literally shook apart under less than a half a dozen rounds through this thing. Literally, it was there and then it wasn't. I looked down and the element was hanging by the wire, so that didn't work out. Apparently, that was actually held in place by the windage and elevation screws. So I don't know what that would work on. So second laser was a actually not so inexpensive green laser that I got on sale at Cabela's. They had a sale going into the holiday seasons that was kind of hard to pass up. So $50, it was worth the risk. It's worked great. It was small but bright. Stayed on 0 and stayed on functionally. It just wouldn't stay on the weapon. So that was no good. A couple 3 shots and then it was gone. You look down and things actually a couple feet behind you. That's not good. On just some kind of random internet search, stumbled across the Leapers UTG Bulldot, which I'm assuming has got to be fairly new release, because when I bought this back in August, there was no sign of this. When it came in, it was heavier than I expected, but smaller. Ended up being smaller on the weapon than I was fearing. So and the weight really on the weapon, it's really nominal, and the size, it's not too bad. Like I said, the button turned out to be a happy, serendipitous sort of thing. The only thing to find out is would it do the 3 ons: stay on weapon, stay on 0. Spoiler alert, it did. It did get, this mounting screw did back off a bit towards the second, I think, round of 3-inch slugs I was running through this, and I had run at least a dozen or more high brass through this prior to that. So it didn't surprise me and it backed off, but even loose, it stayed on the weapon and stayed on 0. So just a little blue, Loctite here on this end, probably keep that in place. I'm not too worried about that. Target acquisition was unbelievably quick on this, and I was shooting, not midday, but it was well after sunup, and so the sun was coming actually from behind me onto my target. So the fact that I could still see the green dot, granted it was a white steel target, but still, I was impressed. I would imagine in actual deployment inside at night, there's no way that you could not see where that dot is and get it on target quickly and have devastating results for your perpetrator. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and roll that range footage. And basically I'm going to be testing out various different shells from, mini shells, which I only have slugs right now. Basic, I think number 8 bird shot. I think I even had some number 4 bird shot. Then went on to number 4 buckshot. Then moved up into some high brass. I think it was bird shot actually. And then moved into some Magnum slugs in the 2 3/4 inch. And then finished it off with some 1.5 ounce 3-inch Magnum slugs. So without further ado, enjoy the video. Alright, hopefully we have this zeroed in, and I'm going to basically do the mini shell deployment. 9 shells, 1 in the chamber, 8 in the mag. I'm going to shoot on still and shoot from the hip. Let's see how this goes. Okay, good thing I have extra wood for my stand. Good thing I caught that on vid too. Alrighty. Alrighty, so far so good. It's we're gonna kind of keep moving up the food chain on the shell strength, and now we're just going to go to a regular, I think it's a number 8 bird shot general purpose target round, and here we go. Okay. Couldn't tell if that actually hit every round, but seemed to. All right. Alrighty. Kind of sure I hit that each time last time, but yeah, we'll continue on. I wish that was higher up, but what can you do? Okay, so we're moving up once again. Sizes. We are officially moving into high brass. And this says number 4 shot, but it doesn't say buckshot. I'm assuming this is going to still be number 4 bird shot. But still, we're getting up there. It's a 2200 or well 1220 feet per second velocity, so it's definitely going to start getting a little kick in. And I'm not going to be wearing gloves now because it was slipping a little bit too much. Alright. I had a feeling that was coming. Freaking mess. A freaking muddy mess. Kind of makes me wonder how many times I'm going to have to pick this thing up today. Oh. But I've got to do the test. Damn target. Alright. I think I have 1, maybe 2 more rounds on this. Finish this off. Okay. So far it seems to be well, staying on the weapon, and so far it looks like it's staying on 0. So I'm happy. Moving on. Okay, so now we're going to be moving into number 4 buckshot. This is a federal round. Didn't bring the box with me because they were loaded in the weapon when I got here. So I'm not sure what velocity. I can imagine they're going to be a little bit more beefy than this last one, but I'm not sure if they're more or less than the Hornady I'm going to try next. But here we go. Dark. over and cozy. Thank goodness I only have so many more rounds to try out, because this is kind of getting old. So I think I've got at least 2 more rounds. Hopefully we can keep this thing from falling over again. All right. Okay, so this is where things are going to start to hurt, literally, because we have some 1/4 slug magnums, which would be something you definitely want to shoot from the hip. We'll see. Hopefully my target won't fall over. That's all I'm hoping for this time. Almost. I gotta figure that the soggy ground's got something to do with why that thing's constantly falling over. But I still think that thing is probably pretty gnarly. You wouldn't want to get hit with that. Alright. Well, so far, 2 for 2. 2 times hits, 2 times picking the damn thing up. I bet you we can repeat that. And indeed we did. Okay, we're going to cut right to the chase. I had a few more shells I was going to try out in the end, some more increments, but we're just going to jump right to the 3-inch, 1 1/4 slug Magnum, 1600 feet per second. Pretty much about as badass as I'd want to run through this. I've run this through this before. I know the Mossberg can handle it. I have never had any sort of optic make it this far, for one reason or another. So I'm feeling good about this Bulldot. It seems to be the answer. This is not going to be fun, but it is going to be necessary. Alright, not surprised that thing fell over. So this UTG Leapers Bulldot comes with this cool little wrench thing to tighten it up. It's come loose, but it hasn't come off, and so far it's held at 0 even though it's come loose, so that's a good sign. I'm not too surprised it's kind of wiggled loose with those last few rounds. We'll tighten it down and we'll see where it's at after the end of these next 4. I'm thinking maybe a little Loctite, if the blue, not the red, may be in order for this one. I'm thinking for mini shells, number 4 buck in home, probably not going to be an issue. Alright. So, here we go. Probably going to have to pick this thing up again. Alright. Alright. Got one more. Alright, final thoughts. It's still firmly attached after I tighten it down. So after around 30 odd rounds, a good 10, I think 15 of those were high brass. It started to come loose, but it didn't come off. So, and that was under, firing at least one, I think, 3-inch Magnum shell.
So that's, like I said, you know, worst case scenario, a little blue Loctite. And that thing will be pretty well firmly affixed. It's still removable if necessary. But I am duly impressed. I think this is the solution I was hoping for. It stayed on physically. No problems with the switch. It stayed on 0 as far as I can tell. That's good. And it stayed on the weapon. It was getting loose, and it probably, maybe even before I finished those 5 3-inches, it might have come off. But I didn't, because I tightened it. And that's cool. Alright.
Thanks for watching.